Hi, my name is Wayne Seeto. I'm a Master Instructor Trainer for Merrithew. Joining me today is David Taylor. He's also an Instructor Trainer for Merrithew. So he's going to help me out with some knee injury type exercises. So in some previous videos, you would have seen that we did exercises to establish initially muscle control and activity through the knee, and then also control of range of motion. Then what you need to do is that as you go into more advanced level tasks, you need to integrate more proprioceptive input into the knee so that that injury or that injured knee can be reintegrated to normal kinetic chain type activities. So one of the things that we have today for you is the stability barrel. So one of the things with the stability barrel is that when we put the arc down, you're going to see that there's 2 degrees of freedom here. So we're going to see that by having instability on 2 degrees, we can add in a more graded approach to some proprioceptive input. Oftentimes when you put them onto the BOSU or onto a wobble board, there's too much instability that the knee may not be ready for. Okay, so I'm going to get David to stand onto that stability barrel. We want to stand into the very center of the stability barrel, and we're just going to go into a functional movement task, which is going to be your squat. So David's going to show us a nice body weight squat here. So in this bodyweight squat, what we're looking for is that the torso and the tibia maintain its relationship to each other. That will force the hip, knee, and ankle to contribute to the squat. And we're going to come up. And as he does this, you can see how the heels must stay parallel to the floor, must stay on the stability barrel. And you want to see that, if possible, the thighs are parallel to the floor if they have that control and that range of motion. Okay? The barrel here needs to be silent, so there is no movement as they go and do this task. And then from the front view, which you won't see, but you want to see that in the front view, that the knee, okay, stays in alignment with the second and third toe, so we have proper tracking. Okay. Now the other benefit you can see is that it's a little unstable, so you can see that it goes forward and backwards. So the knee, the hip, the ankle need to sort of really understand that external challenge, and then internally the muscles need to react appropriately. But what we can do here is that, say you had someone who has excessive weight shift into their toes and they lift the heels, but it's not because they're short through the Achilles, we can actually start to play around with the position of the foot on the barrel. So if I want David to weight bear more into the heel, I can add more of a reactive stimulation where he has to self-correct against the forces that we're putting into the limb. So I'm going to ask David to step forward until the weight of the barrel puts the barrel slightly forward. Okay, and then I'm going to ask him to try to keep the barrel nice and level. Okay, you can see that in doing so, David needs to shift the weight more into the heel so that when he goes into his squat, okay, so I just want the barrel a little bit more level. So if you can, just try to get the weight into your heels. Okay, you're going to see that now David's having to weight shift more accurately into the foot. Okay, here it's more artificial in the fact that he has to weight bear a little bit more into the heel. Okay, the other way that you can do this is that you can ask him to go into the back of the barrel somewhat. Okay, just a little bit more forward. Yep. Okay, you can see that now all the weight is into the back heel. Okay, so you're going to see that this is going to be someone where when they're doing their squats, they're really reaching far too back and the toes are coming off. Okay, so we want to give him some stimulation to learn to have more of a weight shift into the front of the toes. You don't often use this particular one. The previous one you use a little bit more, so because people tend to lift the heels off rather than lift the toes off. Okay, but this is another option, and you can see David's having to weight shift more into the forefoot in order to keep that barrel nice and silent. So it's another way to use some reactive feedback to try to get the client to self-correct and get better motor patterns and movement competency. Okay. Now, what we can do here, we're going to bring David back to the center, is that then eventually we want to go into more high-level challenges into the ankle, knee, and the hip. So here we're going to go into a clock reach situation. So we added more of a single leg standing balance where the knee, ankle, hip is reacting to the clock. So I'm going to ask David, I want you to reach as much as you can to 12 o'clock. And you can see, in order to reach, he's going to have to bend the stance leg. Good, and we're going to come back up. And I'm going to ask David to reach to 6 o'clock. Okay. Then I'm going to ask David to reach to 9 o'clock. Okay, we're going to challenge it. We're going to look for the track of the knee. Does the knee wobble side to side, or can he maintain that tracking over second and third toe? We're going to make it a little bit more difficult. We're going to ask him to reach to 3 o'clock. Good. Okay, and then we're going to go into, rather than just the cardinal planes, but go into multiplanar movements. So let's go into 11 o'clock. Good. Into 4 o'clock. Good. Into 2 o'clock. Good. Into 8 o'clock. Good, and then return. Okay, and then we want to make sure that you have good tracking as he goes into different types of alignments through his toe reach. Okay, make sure that they're in the middle of the barrel as they step off to the side, never backwards or forwards, but off to the side. Okay, so that the barrel doesn't move too much. Okay, so that's a nice way to use the 2 degrees of freedom instability of the stability barrel for proprioceptive challenge of knee issues.